Greetings. All right, I'm presenting. So, this is the project I worked on. Unfortunately, I can't show the game off. This is the first time I'm using screencast, so I can only show the code. But hopefully that'll be enough. You'll be able to play the game yourself, so you'll be able to see. So, starting off with the shapes. How do you handle the ground? How did I make the enemies? How is everything visualized? Everything is visualized with... bloody hell. Over here in, for example, the ground, it's a very simple matter, just taking the code and basically using it every time when I want to have a new platform, only changing occasionally the width and size of it as well as the exact positioning to create different heights and different gaps within the level. For the enemies, I did basically exactly the same thing. To actually put them down, I just created them, put them in the different spots and gave them the different values that made the rotation and everything else happen. Only thing interesting here is that I created an array of enemies where I would slowly put them in for later handling their behavior as well. What you'll also notice is that it's numerically handled, so I think 0 to 1 is the same enemy type, then 2 to 6 is the same enemy type, and 7 to 10 is also the same enemy types. It is easy for, for functions that handle their behavior. Lastly, yes, the player himself. The player I'm handling, the player, 5 minutes is not a long time, I have to hurry. The player is handled... Well, the player, essentially what he is a simple sphere. And in this sphere, you have a simple cube, the player is just a cube, that moves about. And really, that's all it is. It's just a player, he can move, he can jump, it uses the collidable first-person thing, which with monogame uses gravity and everything, and that's really it. There's a couple of adjustments, jump height and movement speed, yada yada, but essentially that's all it is. Oh, and here we are at the camera already. Yeah, the first person is handled here in the first person. And the camera itself is... it's an auto-scrolling camera. So it's sort of like, it's a 2D platform, sort of, well, in 3D. So you see the level mostly by its side, and the player goes through it, and the camera follows along, but it's like an auto-scroll, so it already also moves if the player isn't following along, which means that if he doesn't hurry, he immediately dies. So that's kind of interesting, and I felt like hopefully if I do it like that, that would also include the intro scene, because essentially what it is a camera that's on a rail and moves along a certain route. And that route is dynamic, actually, as it turns out, because since it's not just a straight line, there is actually a bit of a bend right in the middle, as then it changes into a different direction, to really use the 3D aspect of the platformer. So that's that. I do have sounds correctly. I do have sounds, which is right now I have 3 sounds exactly, just to showcase that it does work. I didn't put too much thought into the sounds themselves. In fact, you'll realize they're all the same sound. What happened with the sounds is that essentially they're just to showcase that I know how to use different sounds in different aspects. So, for example, I've Boom 3 is used like a soundtrack. It continuously plays in the background to showcase that I could be adding music. I've Boom 2 and Boom 1. Boom 2 is a deep sound effect. As you can see here, I adjusted the values to make it sound deeper. It's a sound effect that plays when an enemy hits the player and throws them off the stage. Then I have the Boom 1 sound effect, which is played when the player wins the game and gets, beamed into the sky. The collision detection, correct. So collision is always sort of working with the player and the platforms. Obviously, it's what keeping them afloat. And so when the player sort of, falls off, immediately falls to his death into the big old death box that's at the bottom. And of course, I do have the proximity-based collisions, essentially, of the enemies, where if the player walks in, there's a bit of a velocity applied to the player's character body, and he gets thrown off the stage, and there's a sound that's playing. It's very nice. I didn't do the thrust and culling. I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. Lastly, the UI is a similar situation where I got quite far with it. Unfortunately, I just couldn't quite figure out how to work the system for making it for making the event dispatcher use it, and I can't talk and also find it at the same time, so you just have to take my word for it. So that's what's happening there. I already, I insinuate. Where the hell is it? I actually managed to put it in correctly. So, all the stuff is here. It's being correctly put in, green, red. There's a different screens. They're correctly put in the manager. However, it doesn't work because the event dispatcher isn't working. So right now, what I am doing is I'm just using the vector, what am I talking about? Yes, this one, just to showcase I can call upon it, that there is a victory condition. So I'm just calling back to the main menu. That's what happens when you die or you win, just to showcase that something does indeed happen. Lastly, for the gameplay, yeah. So there's a level, there's two aspects of the level. One is vertical, the other is horizontal. No, not that way. Sorry, one is on the x-axis, one is on the z-axis. And so the player goes through the level. I can't show it because Screencast doesn't let me. He jumps over increasingly more difficult challenges. First, it's just an enemy that's slowly approaching. He jumps over. Then an enemy that comes quickly. Then you've got spikes emerging from the bottom, one, and then two, and then one big one on a platform. And then you go the other way, and what happens is that there's cannonballs shooting from the right as the camera is focusing on the right-hand side more to give you more ample time to react to it. And you get to a big gap, you jump in the middle, and then there's a big one coming at the end as you get to a last platform, and you finish, and it's all great. So I've got more than two distinct enemy types with different behaviors. I've got two levels, which is, once to the right and then forward, and that's all. And if this seems rushed, then it's because 5 minutes are not a long time. Yes, thank you. I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy playing it. And I'm looking forward to hear what you thought of it.